The whole point of the relic system is to enable cool new abilities that differ from between builds and situations. For example, Relic of Fractal may not be good in situations that require a lot of cleave. However, what's happening with relics is for strike damage is that the good ones, like Fireworks and Thief, simply add a passive damage modifier. So it completely neglects the build crafts and creativity actually involved with relic choices. Instead of getting access to cool new spells that you have to intentionally line up your attack, we just have more boring passive buffs that appear on your bar. Yes! Holy true. There's a lot of cool abilities that you can have right now that you just can't use right now. You just can't use them. There's a lot of cool relics that you can use that you shouldn't use it because they do less damage than the other ones, right? It's cool if you make a build that it essentially works in this type of build and this one in this other type of build, but the fact that it ends up having you end up having things like Fireworks or Thief that just gives you passive essentially damage, and it's omega easy to use, right? Ends up making it so everyone uses the same one every time, and it's honestly harder to balance as well because there's always gonna be one choice that's gonna be the best. If you can just completely negate this by just not having damage modifier stuff, right? His fourth paragraph is something he made up in his own head. What people demand isn't always what's best for the game. People want their 10% over 9% HP scholar buff back. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, that's a bit of a... That's the same issue, though. You're kind of going against your own point here. Like, Scholar is one of these buffs that we don't want in the game. Right? There's no difference between having your 10% over 9% HP Scholar buff than having Fireworks or Thief. It's literally the same. They want a permanent 7% strike damage increase simply for having a permanent pet. But that doesn't mean that these demands actually serve to improve the health of relics. Oh, he's going against... Oh no, he's actually agreeing with me. That doesn't mean that these demands actually serve to improve the health of relics. It's just players living inside their matrix who simply want power for power's sake. I mean, I don't know if there are that many people that actually want this. I think it's Ainet for some reason. I think what ended up happening is that Ainet had this, like... They were scared that there was going to be a lot of people that actually think the way that he thinks people think here in this fourth paragraph. And they put Fireworks and Thief in order to satiate those people. But I don't think, those people should be satiated. I think it's bad for the game. And also, I don't think those people are a lot. Before Soda, there was no threat going, we demand damage mod relic. Yeah, I don't think so either. Literally every discussion I was in for the relics, we're asking for no DPS relics since we just end up with the DPS relic equipped and ignore the rest. Yeah, exactly. I think NH should nip this issue in the bot and stop adding relics that modify strike damage before it's too late. The problem that they can prevent with the relic system is still young. Instead, they should add more interesting abilities that deal damage directly, such as Citadel bombardments. I do think it's... I kind of agree. But also, you also have to be careful with things like Citadel bombardments that just do damage, because there's always going to be one that does more damage than the other one. It is definitely the way that they should start, though, and I agree with this, is by modifiers are way too strong compared to just this ability does some damage, right? And modifiers are always going to be like insanely powerful. So they definitely should start by removing all of the modifier relics, and just make the Fireworks do, like, I don't know how much damage, but a few, a little bit of damage, right? And make Thief one also, just, whenever you get the 5 stacks, a little bit of damage appears or whatever. I don't know, something like that. They can move there and see what happens afterwards. If it works, nice. If we have a good balanced game after that, great. If you don't, we might have to remove those as well. Ideally, you probably would want just utility ones, but I guess people do like a little bit of vertical progression, and their abilities doing some damage, so we can at least start with the modifiers. I did not demand mod relic because I expected to go with 6 bonuses, 1 to relics. It's sort of like how Seal of Air or Hydra are just damage increases, but they are still better than Seal of Force. Yeah, I guess you could do it that way. But, you know what? To be honest, the thing with that, though, is you can have that in your game. But if you want that in your game, you have to have one system that just does damage modifiers and one that just does utilities. The other way you could fix it, and I guess it would be nice for the UI, is that maybe you can equip 2 relics. One, and they essentially divide relics by having damage modifier relics and non-damage and utility relics. And that way you can actually have both players satiated, the people who like this kind of stuff and the people who don't. I'm not sure where you would put the people that want, like, for example, things like Citadel of Environment, like, you know, damage, like, you know, you press a button and an attack happens. Would you put it in the damage modifier place, or would you put it in the utility one? I'm not really sure. So you need to make 2 Legi relics. Yeah, see? Even better. And it gets all of the swipers to purchase the game, to purchase gold, so they can get their relic. Giga chat. Honestly, huge. That'll be zazed. But until then, yeah. They will call it different and call it another slot, bracelet or something. Yeah, they could. I mean, they could do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having those kind of stuff. You just have to balance it so it doesn't destroy the utility version, like the utility stuff. I think it's way... Or you delete all the modifier things that you have, relics that you have, or you put it in a slot that only competes with modifiers, you know? Runes are the percentage stat modifier relics. Should be just on utility focus. That was the whole point of decoupling them. Yeah, but the difference is, Nifty, is that I think there is something to be said about you pressing a button and getting a modifier. I guess what you could do is essentially... yeah, because like runes are not active; they're passive, right? You just have the stats. You just have the stats, and that's it. You know what I mean? You deleted all the modifiers next expansion, and they will be in a new slot, and it will be an next expansion feature. I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I think that's fine. But yeah, they need to do something about it, because right now we all just use the thief relics and the firework relics and relic of the fractal, and that's it, right? And I think that's yeah. There you go. Hopefully they do that, and if not, I'll be sad. But there you go. They'll probably do something boring like that in Executive plus new weapons. Again, what else can they do? I mean, I don't think that's boring, but sure. I mean, I think that's fine if they do that. That's interesting. I mean, honestly, that's interesting. If you give us more things to play around and, you know, make more builds with them, I think that's nice. I mean, that's what WoW does. It works pretty well in that game. Ideally, what you want, though, ideally what you want is relics, and weapons essentially that change. Well, relics, not relics. You want relics that change your rotation. Fireworks does this pretty well, I think. Fireworks actually makes you change your rotation. You have to every few seconds, right? Press a button that is 20 seconds cooldown, right? So you get actually the buff, and you end up actually end up thinking about it and change your rotation accordingly, and it's actually very fun, I think. I don't think more relics like that would be a mistake. It just, as I said, they need to be in a spot where they compete with other relics like that, right? I don't think Thief does that very well, because Thief relic just spam buttons, right? It doesn't really change the rotation. Firework relic does, and it actually reminds me a lot of tier sets in WoW, which I think is a good thing. We just need more of them, right? Because I really like tier sets. In WoW, when you have tier sets, what ends up happening is that you get your tier set and your rotation completely changes for your class, and it's like such a refreshing way of playing the game. You know, you have to relearn, and you feel more powerful while you're relearning. And I think that's pretty pog. It's just you want them to compete. You want tier sets to compete with each other, not with ooh, if I take this relic, I'll be faster. You know, you want that in another slot. You want there somewhere else. Mage tier set changed. Yeah, you have to. Well, look. So you know, I think you just don't. You're kind of fucked. Okay, like what most people would consider a good design, you would consider insane and disgusting boringness because you have to relearn your build. But most people like relearning the build. So you're kind of fucked, you know? Obvious rotation doesn't change with fireworks. Okay, I'm sure there are exceptions, but Reaper rotation changes with fireworks, right? What are people saying in the thread? This and a lot of them being tied to elite skill usage or having long ass cooldowns that make them barely worth warning to begin with. Yeah, that's a good point. The whole system seems immediately imbalanced and skewed towards unfull relics despite how many there are. Yeah, I do think. I don't think it's that bad. I think for like instant PV, it's pretty bad. But for like open world stuff, I don't think it's horrible. You know.